This conference will now be recorded.
Alright, so today we will talk about few interview questions which were faced by two of the people in the last couple of days. Okay, let me go to this sheet. Okay, this is one set of interview questions, and let me remove this. Okay, 15. This is one set, this is another set. Which one is yours, Manjuna? The first one or the second set?
The first one,
This one?
one second. Not that one, sir. Second one. The other one.
This one?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let us begin. So there were around 43 points or 43 questions here. What was the duration of your interview?
Sir, it was 40 minutes.
It was 40 minutes. And in the 40
Yes,
minutes, you
sir.
asked all these points?
Yes, sir.
Or this is collective questions from the couple of interviews that you attended? Or is it from the same interview?
No, same interview only. During the 40 minutes, the duration it was taken.
They asked all these points,
So the
these
general
42
questions
points.
are there now. So almost seven general questions are there.
Okay. In short, all these 42 points, whatever is listed, were discussed with you in the interview. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First, what we will do is we will try to understand at high level what are all these points and what it is related to. Before we understand what is the answer for it, we need to ensure whether we are able to understand the point or the question or not. When you look at certain questions, you need to understand what are they expecting from us when they put these kind of questions. If you let us read through these questions first. First one is brief about yourself. This is, as you know, common in every interview. You need to have a thorough preparation of your profile, meaning your name, qualification, overall experience, relevant experience in SAP FICO, your projects, what was your contribution, what is your skill set in SAP FICO, everything you need to make sure you have properly prepared on it. This is all related to your brief about yourself. This is common standard in every interview that you attend. After that, they were talking about did you work on any implementation project? This is again in every project, sorry, in every interview, it is mandatory, or even before you get the interview call on the HR discussion for the initial screening, they will be checking whether you are part of any end-to-end implementation project or not. They will take your profile forward only when you tell yes, you were part of any implementation project. If you tell no, I did not work on any implementation project so far, your profile may not be shortlisted. This is again mandatory. This is again mandatory. Third one, which system you work on, ECC or S4 HANA system. We are all aware that in our project or in our resume, whatever the project that we will put, the current project or at least one of your project must represent S4 HANA system. Meaning if you're talking about you are part of any implementation project, if you are going ahead with 3 to 4 years of experience or below 5 years of experience, you must have worked from 2019 or from 2020 till date. In this duration, there is S4 HANA in the market, right from 17 version, 18 version, 20, 21, 22. There are various versions available in the market. One of the project from your resume must represent S4 HANA system. One of the project from your resume must represent S4 HANA system. Here also you need to make sure, yes, I was part of ECC environment at the same time S4 HANA environment as well. When you're talking about ECC environment, you should remember ECC 6 you were part of. And when you're talking about S4 HANA system, be very specific. What is the project that you're representing on your resume? and what is the duration of the project. You are telling that you are working on a particular project on S4 HANA system somewhere around 2021 or 2022. When you are working on S4 HANA project in 2021 year, please make sure you will not talk about you are working on S4 HANA 2022 version or S4 HANA 2023 version. Keep in your mind the year that you are working always -1. Year that you are working always do a -1. If you are working on 2022 in any project related to S4 HANA system, tell that you are part of a project of S4 HANA system in 2021 year related to S4 HANA 2020 version. Because you're talking about you are working in 2021, your version must be -1. Or if you are telling that I was working in a project which was used on S4 HANA system in 2022, you are working in 2022 from anywhere to anywhere. Always tell your client was using S4 HANA 2021 version. Either you do -1 or you can go -2. Either ways it is okay. In 2022, you can tell S4 HANA version 2021 or S4 HANA version 2020 or even 1909. Not even the same year, it should be either -1, -2. Okay, and this is also mandatory. You must tell that you are working on S4 HANA system or you have experience on S4 HANA system. You cannot say, no, I did not work on S4 HANA system unless you're really working. For example, you're currently working in a project, you're already working a SAP FICO consultant, your client is not using S4 HANA system. That is an exception. But we all know what is our background. There is no exception that we will take from this client. This kind of exception is not allowed. You must talk that yes, I was part of S4 HANA project as well. And logic is whatever the year that you are quoting in your experience, -1 is your version that you work for S4 HANA system. The moment you tell you are part of S4 HANA system, they specifically point out which version you are part of. They specifically point out which version you are part of. Make sure you tell either -1 or -2. And next one, what are the major changes that you have seen in S4 HANA in FI side? Whenever somebody is talking or asking about ECC to S4 HANA changes, always remember you should not talk about the generic changes from ECC to S4 HANA system. You have to be strictly related to FICO functionality alone. According to your experience, according to your knowledge, according to your understanding, what changes you are aware, because you have to elaborate and then explain in detail about those changes. Most of the times what we will do, we will try to find out content from the Google, or even if you ask anybody, it's freely available content, ECC to S4 HANA changes. Or even if you find SAP S4 HANA simplification list, you will get official SAP PDFs which are publicly available for everybody from SAP side. But when you're looking at from the changes with respect to ECC to S4 HANA, considering a FI point of view or considering a CO point of view, make a note of at least minimum 5 points. Make a note of at least minimum 5 points. These 5 points should be the valid points on which you will be able to talk. It is not that when I referred a document on the Google or any other source, I was able to list out 10-15 points. It is okay. You know, around 10-15 points, that is fine. But out of those 10-15 points, how many points you are in a position to talk, elaborate? Out of those 10-15 points, how many points you are able to talk, you are able to elaborate? That is more important. Here, the intention of asking this question is not to see how many points you are aware of. The intention is to see on how many changes you are able to talk. Meaning, only when you practically work, you will be able to elaborate to talk. Else, you will only tell this is the changes, this is the change. But what is the change, how it was working in ECC, how it is going to be worked in S4 HANA system, we may not be able to elaborate because we do not know conceptually, practically what exactly the change was brought in there. Right? You're listing out the content, change number 1, change number 2 is not going to be sufficient. You have to elaborate. For example, you're talking about GL account here. One of the changes that you can quote is GL account. GL account in terms of cost element. Cost element when you talk about primary cost element, secondary cost element. In ECC, cost elements are part of controlling module. In ECC, cost elements are part of controlling module, but in S/4HANA system, cost elements are part of FI module from the chart of account perspective. So your cost elements are directly created as a chart of account. In the chart of account for primary cost, for secondary cost, we will be creating a separate account group. Then how this is going to get integrated from FI to CO or CO to FI, you have additional configuration to be made, wherein you are connecting SAP FI leading ledger with SAP CO standard version. Zero ledger we were integrating or we were connecting with standard CO version called zero. With this setting, system is getting integrated between FI and CO and FI. And when you create a cost element in ECC, we used to create cost element with KA01, KA06, primary, secondary. In S/4HANA system, whether it is a primary cost element or it is a secondary cost element, we will be creating it with the help of FS00 alone. So these kind of things you'll have to talk. When you do the posting, all the entries related to primary cost element, secondary cost element will get updated in AC DOCA table. All the entries will get updated in AC DOCA table. When it comes to ECC, cost element information will not come to GL table because cost element data is separate, the GL account data is separate. Something like this you have to at least try and elaborate 3-4 lines. You need not explain in detailed in depth, but at least 2-3 lines in a different way when you're trying to convince or explain. The other person feels that yes, this candidate knows what exactly this change is intended for, what has happened with this change in SAP. Similarly, when you talk about business partner, after GL account, when you talk about business partner, you know that in SAP ECC, we do not have a concept called business partner. Though we have a concept called business partner in ECC, we were using it only for the treasury purpose or HR purpose. In short, for the TRM related or for the your HR related purpose, we were using business partner in ECC. But in S/4HANA system, for all the functionalities related to any business transaction, when you're talking about a business transaction, it can be purchase, it can be sale, it can be loan, it can be anything. All the business transactions related to external parties, all the business transactions related to external parties or internal parties must be performed with the help of a business partner, meaning you are going to create a central database for an individual or for an organization. What kind of a business transaction you perform is a secondary. The moment you identify a person or an organization with whom you are going to perform a business transaction, can be a purchase, can be a sale, can be a loan, can be a bank transaction, it can be anything. The moment you know that this is a business transaction and you have identified a person or an organization with whom we are going to perform the transaction, create that person, create that organization as a BP master, which is a centralized master common for all the modules in SAP. FI, Treasury, SD, and all these modules will share the same or common business partner master. Now, how you are going to identify or how you are going to use one business partner with multiple module? You have various roles here. You have various roles called BP role. For FI, you have two types of role, for accounting and then for your logistics. Accounting, what you are going to do, accounting a customer, accounting vendor. Similarly, logistics vendor, logistics customer. In short, vendor or SD customer. These kind of roles you need to understand, and the tables related to SAP customer, SAP vendor, how they were in ECC, how they are updated in S/4HANA system. Are there any changes between the tables of customer vendor in ECC to S/4HANA system? And what are the new tables that are updated, that are introduced with respect to business partner? These points you need to understand at a high level, meaning whenever you are talking or thinking about these points, you'll have to take a pen and paper or take an Excel sheet. Most of the information related to all these points is very basic, very fundamental thing which you are already aware of it. Create a customer, create a vendor. And you all know that when you create a customer table will begin from LF or KN. What is the two digits for customer table? LF or KN?
KN for customer.
For customer, What are the two digits that are related to table? Is it LF or is it KN?
KN.
KN.
KN star. You go to SE16 and put KN star, open the F4. You will get the list of tables. You get the list of tables. From those list of table, take only the 4-digit tables. KN A1, KN B1, likewise. Similarly, put LF star. Open F4. You will get again list of table. From this list of table, take only 4-digit table. Though there are so many other table, ignore the others. Take only 4-digit table. Don't Google it straight away. When I say do not Google it, put LF star, F4, copy the table name, whatever is with 4-digit. Know only those things. Don't remember everything, not required. You do not have to remember all the tables related to customer, related to vendor. You should only remember customer general data, customer company code data. Similarly, vendor general data, vendor company code data, customer bank details, vendor bank details, customer sales organization details, vendor purchase organization detail. This is sufficient. 4 or 5 tables enough. Beyond this, if somebody is asking anything, tell that you do not remember at this moment. You have no idea, you don't remember the other table at this moment. Just upfront tell to anybody. Tell that you do not remember at this moment. But as I mentioned, general data for customer, general data for vendor, company code data for customer, company code data for vendor, bank details for customer, bank details for vendor, sales organization related for customer, purchase organization related for vendor. These tables are mandatory. Along with this, business partner related table. To see the business partner related table, you have something called BUT star. You just go to SE16 and put BUT star. You get a list of all the business partner table. From there, you need to identify business partner general information, business partner different roles. For one business partner, how many roles are assigned, and how BP and customer is integrated. How do you know that a particular business partner is created as a customer or a vendor? You have another table wherein you will be able to know the connection between business partner with various role. These tables you'll have to remember. Like 2-3 tables will be there. If you're able to remember these 2-3 tables from BP, sufficient. And with this, you can easily talk. And then you need to understand what is CVI integration. In short, customer vendor integration. How customer vendor is integrated in S/4HANA system with the help of business partner concept or BP concept. With the help of BP business partner, you are going to create a single master record for a person or for an organization. With this single person, single organization, you may be doing the purchases, you may be doing a sale. In short, buyer and seller will be the same person. In short, customer vendor is the same BP. How you are going to make sure that customer, vendor, BP are aligned or are synchronized? How we are going to align, how we are going to synchronize customer, vendor, BP? You need to understand this. We are going to maintain with the help of CVI setting or customer vendor integration setting. With the help of this CVI, you need to understand what is a CVI, how this CVI setting or configuration is maintained. Once we understand this, you need to explain how you are going to maintain this configuration setup and what is the logic for it. Which number is derived first and from what number is expected. 1 minute. Alright. You need to understand which number will be generated first and how the other numbers will get updated. Meaning whether BP number will get generated first or customer number will be generated first or vendor number will be generated first. How these are connected to each other. Always BP number will get generated first. Based on the BP number, customer number will be generated. Based on the same BP number, vendor number will be generated. Now, if it is the same person, you don't want to have different master records for it. Meaning, for a person, for example, my name is Ajay, you wanted to do business with me. What you will do for you, I am a business partner. You will create a master record for me, meaning my name, my address you are going to create as a business partner. Before you do any transaction with me, you need to make sure my name and address is created in your system as a business partner. Once you create my name and address as a business partner, make sure you will create my full name, address, and then my payment or bank details in your BP master. After that, if you are going to do any sale, you are going to extend me as a customer. If you are going to do any purchase from me, you are going to extend me as a vendor. You are going to extend business partner as a customer, or you are going to extend business partner as a vendor by way of assigning BP roles to the BP master, meaning you have BP roles related to customer FLCU00, FLCU01. FLCU00 is indicating business partner customer at company code level. FLCU01 is representing business partner customer at sales organization level. Similarly, for vendor, FLVN00, FLVN01. FLVN00 is representing business partner vendor at company code level, and FLVN01 is representing business partner vendor at purchase organization level. And then the remaining BP roles is completely optional, not required at this moment for you. These points, when you are able to talk, explain in a conceptual sequential order, that is more than sufficient. And remember, when you're doing it, you have two options. Option number one, creating BP number, customer vendor number as the same. Option number two, creating BP number, customer vendor number as different. You can have BP customer vendor number exactly the same, or you can have BP customer vendor number different. How you are going to determine this? Based on the CVI setting or based on customer vendor integration. In this customer vendor integration, you are going to tell the system how system has to take the direction to determine the vendor number or to determine the customer number. There will be two options there. There will be two options while defining this configuration. Option number one, derive the vendor number or derive the customer number from business partner number. This is option number one. Option number two, derive the business partner number from the customer number or derive the business partner number from the vendor number. This is option number two. And how you are going to use it in case if you are using S4 HANA system in production after go live, you will be using direction business partner to customer vendor. In short, BP will be created first. Whatever the BP number you will get, same BP number will become your customer number, same BP number will become your vendor number. If you are doing a migration project, meaning you are migrating the data from SAP ECC version to SAP S4 HANA version, in this situation you will be creating direction customer to BP, direction vendor to BP, because in your ECC system you already have a customer number, you already have vendor number. All the existing entries, legacy transactions are already posted with current customer code, current vendor code. You want to make sure when you bring the data from ECC to S4 HANA system, customer number will remain the same. Vendor number will remain the same, because you are not changing the system here. You are only changing the database. It is the still SAP system, but from the backend, whatever the third party database that you have, that is replaced with SAP in-house database called HANA database. So here you are going to maintain direction customer to BP, direction vendor to BP. To this extent, if you are able to talk, more than enough. But these kind of points, you'll have to take a pen, paper or an Excel sheet, write down. Simple points you need to write down. These points alone, you need to make sure I will be able to explain in a confident manner. Nobody will expect beyond this in any interview, no matter what. Whatever the company it is, nobody will expect beyond this. Even if you talk at this level or this much, it will take more than 5 minutes. Even if you talk, it will take more than 5 minutes. Nobody will have that much time. They only see what is your flow while talking. What are your points that you're quoting in your explanation? If you're quoting valid points, if you're going in a confident way, they feel yes, this candidate is aware of the process, they will be okay with you. If flow is missing, you're not able to frame the sentences properly, you're not able to explain the valid point, they feel that okay, this candidate is not aware of it. They feel that this candidate is not aware of it, they may not shortlist or they may take it in a negative way. This is with respect to business partner. Likewise, there are many other changes that you'll have to make a note. First, when you list out the changes from ECC to S4 HANA, list out what are all the changes that are there? What is a simple change? What is a significant change? We'll have to talk about asset accounting. When you're talking about asset accounting, you have normal asset accounting in ECC, you have new asset accounting in S4HANA system. When you're talking about normal asset accounting or classic asset accounting in ECC, new asset accounting in S4HANA system, you will be in a position to understand asset valuation. You have to understand there is something called asset valuation or fixed asset valuation. Assets are valuated according to accounting standard or according to accounting principle. Every organization will have multiple valuation for fixed asset. According to, for example, if you take Indian companies, Indian company will have to valuate the fixed asset as per Indian accounting standard, as per Indian income tax standard, as per also for the IFRS for their group reporting. How do you handle this? What currencies you have? How many currencies can be taken into consideration for your asset accounting? Because in S4 HANA system, there is a change with respect to currency also. In ECC, per company code, you can use 3 currencies. But in S4 HANA system, per company code, you can use maximum 10 currency. But the base will remain the 3 here and there. When we say base will remain 3 here and there, your company code currency, group currency, hard currency or index based currency. These are only 3 currencies which are majoritarily taken into consideration. Same 3 currencies you will take into consideration even in S4 HANA system. Apart from these 3, you will have additional currencies which are represented as freely definable currencies. Now, when you are creating the depreciation areas, we normally do not consider freely definable currencies. You are not going to consider freely definable currencies. You will only consider leading ledger currency, non-leading ledger currency plus country level currency. In short, local currency, group currency, and then your hard or indexed based currency. Apart from these 3, whatever the freely definable currencies that you have, these things we don't represent any depreciation area. And then when you're talking about depreciation areas, you have real-time depreciation areas and you have non-real-time depreciation area. When you're talking about real-time depreciation area, entries will be accounted and it will be valuated in your asset in your balance sheet. When you're talking about non-real-time depreciation area, depreciation entry will not be posted and it will not valuate anything in your balance sheet. Here, when you're talking about depreciation areas, you have one real-time depreciation area in ECC. You can have multiple real-time depreciation areas in S4 HANA system. For example, you have leading ledger, you have non-leading ledger. Leading ledger is there, non-leading ledger is there in ECC system if you are creating asset accounting. In ECC, if you are creating asset accounting, you need to make sure for leading ledger, you create a depreciation area. For non-leading ledger also, you will create a depreciation area in ECC. When it comes to S4 HANA system, it is the same thing. For leading ledger, one depreciation area is created. For non-leading ledger also, another depreciation area is created. But the difference is, in ECC, either leading or non-leading, only one can be real-time posting. In ECC, either leading or non-leading, only one can be real-time posting. But when it comes to S4 HANA system, leading, non-leading, both will be real-time posting. In S4 HANA system, leading ledger, non-leading ledger, both are real-time posting. In ECC system, either leading or non-leading, only one can be real-time posting. It is always assumed that your leading ledger will be real-time posting, non-leading ledger will be non-real-time posting. Since one is real-time, one is non-real-time, there is a difference between leading and non-leading. If you are using both as real-time posting, there is no difference. Only one is real-time, one is non-real-time, there will be a difference. Difference between both depreciation areas between leading ledger, non-leading ledger in ECC is represented as delta depreciation. There is something called delta depreciation. This delta depreciation is the depreciation amount which is the difference between leading ledger, non-leading ledger. This delta depreciation will be accounted at the end of the financial year. When you are performing year-end activity, when you are at the fiscal year closing, at that moment, what system will do? It will verify whether the asset balances from the leading ledger, from the non-leading ledger, are they equal or not. If they are equal, it allows you to open the next financial year in the asset accounting. If they are not equal, it will not allow you to open the next financial year. It will tell there is a difference between leading, non-leading closing balances of the asset. So what you need to do, you need to run periodic reprocessing of the asset, which will adjust non-leading depreciation difference into the asset account. It will pass one more accounting entry adjusting the depreciation, which is represented as delta depreciation. Delta depreciation means differential amount between the net book value of the asset, depreciation value between leading and non-leading ledger for that financial year is again posted back in the non-leading ledger to make sure asset closing balance or asset net book value will be exactly the same between the leading ledger, non-leading ledger. You need to make sure all these points are understood to you, or you're at least aware of these fundamental points. Then when you quote the same example, same point in your interview, the other person will definitely feel, yes, this candidate is aware of the functionalities. Okay, and then you have the different type of depreciation posting. When we talk about different type of depreciation posting, we need to make sure you have normal depreciation posting called planned depreciation posting, unplanned depreciation posting, repeated depreciation posting, recalculated depreciation posting. When it comes to S4 HANA system, these are all not there. Everything is normal depreciation posting only. System automatically takes care whether it is real time, whether it is planned, unplanned. Everything is automatically adjusted by the system. These points you'll have to quote. And again, there are certain changes with respect to your smoothing and catch-up method. What is a smoothing method? What is catch-up method? How these are taken care, how these are handled. At least at very high level, you need to understand. At very high level, when you understand this point and when you're able to explain one or two lines, more than sufficient. Because at a time, we will not be able to conceptually understand everything, but at least basic points which are more valid when you talk. Basic points only, but which are more valid when you talk. Only such points you'll have to pick and then talk. Not like whatever you read from different content, different sources. Don't read out like that. Though your points are
Technical
correct,
clearing
you
account,
will
sir.
not get any impression, you will not get any weightage because whatever you're talking is not giving convincing impression, or the other person is not convinced with what you're talking. Okay, and likewise, there are different areas. Slowly, one by one, you'll have to look at from each area.
Asset,
When you're talking about
asset
from each
technical
area,
clearing
others,
account, sir.
please go on mute.
Asset technical clearing account is there in asset account.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. And then when you're talking about this one, ECC to S4 HANA changes with respect to asset accounting, there is something called asset technical clearing account. Now you need to understand what is this asset technical clearing account, why it is used. We were talking about asset accounting in ECC. It is a single valuation, single real-time valuation. Asset accounting in S4 HANA system, dual real-time valuation. When we say single real-time valuation, dual real-time valuation, we are talking about one ledger is only real-time in ECC. Both ledgers are real-time in S4 HANA system. Meaning this is nothing but asset valuation or parallel valuation of asset. In order to do a parallel valuation of asset, you need to make sure each ledger will be updated with values separately without having any connection on the other ledger. Meaning leading ledger posting is different, non-leading ledger posting is different. When we talk about leading ledger posting is different, non-leading ledger posting is different, you have to go back to your basic FI posting. When you go to basic FI posting, there are two types of FI GL posting, or there are two types of postings in FI. One is without a ledger, another one is with a ledger. When we're talking about one is without ledger, whenever you post any accounting entry, majoritarily or usually we don't put any ledger, meaning you're not going to tell the system leading ledger 0L, non-leading ledger L, NL or whatsoever. Instead, you will not find ledger field at all. Whenever you post any accounting entry, any posting in SAP, most of the cases you don't find a field called a ledger. Meaning you're not defining, you're not telling the system, update this posting to leading ledger, update this posting to non-leading ledger. Meaning whenever you're not representing anything, you're only representing your company code, right? Now in the backend, for every ledger, you are connecting your company code as part of your baseline configuration with respect to FI NSC underscore ledger related setting. We are going to update one ledger to your company code. For example, leading ledger is automatically connected to all the company codes whatever you create in SAP. The moment company code is created, leading ledger is auto assigned. You have no control over the leading ledger. You have to follow blindly. That's it. You can do nothing with respect to leading ledger as it is mandatory. But when it comes to non-leading ledger, you can assign one non-leading ledger to your company code or multiple non-leading ledgers to your company code based on the reporting requirement that you have. Based on the reporting requirement that you have, you can either assign one non-leading ledger or you can assign multiple non-leading ledger. For example, we are assigning single non-leading ledger to our company code. With this, what happened? Your company code is now using two ledger. One is non-leading ledger, the other one is non-leading ledger. Leading ledger, non-leading ledger. Whenever you post any accounting entry, by default, your accounting entry will be updated in both leading ledger plus non-leading ledger. Why it has updated both leading ledger, non-leading ledger? Because during the data entry, you have not specified any ledger. Because during the data entry, you have not specified any ledger. Your entry is updated in all the ledger, whatever is updated in your company code. There is a table which you are all aware, FINSV underscore F4 underscore LDBUKRS. When you go to that respective table, when you put your company code, system will show how many ledgers are connected to your company code. All those ledgers will be updated with the same accounting entry if you leave ledger column blank or if you don't specify the ledger. This is point number one. No ledger is updating all the accounting standard or all the accounting principle or all the ledger, leading and non-leading all together. On the other side, there is something called ledger specific posting. When you're talking about ledger specific posting, with the help of ledger specific posting, what we can do, you can post the entry only to the leading ledger or only to the non-leading ledger. Here what we will do, you need to update ledger group. Here we need to update ledger group. You're all aware, the moment you create any new ledger, any non-leading ledger or any kind of ledger, by default your ledger becomes ledger group. The moment you create a ledger and you save it, you will get another pop-up message stating, if I create NL as my non-leading ledger, it will give a pop-up. NL is also created as a ledger group, meaning ledger group should always be the same. SAP will take care of it. The moment you create a ledger group is automatically created. You can also create your own ledger group combining multiple ledgers. Okay, while creating a ledger specific posting, you have to provide a ledger group, either a leading ledger or a non-leading ledger or combination of multiple ledger you need to give. When you give a ledger there, only to that ledger your entry will be recorded. When you give a ledger there, only to your ledger entry will be updated, entry will be recorded, meaning I can post a debit, I can post a credit, which is reflecting or affecting only one side of the ledger, either leading side of the ledger or non-leading side of my ledger. In short, either my non-leading ledger IFRS accounting standard or my non-leading ledger Indian accounting standard or US GAAP or any other specific country GAAP. Now what I'm doing here, when I specify a ledger, my accounting entry is hitting one specific accounting principle, and it is individual accounting entry without any dependency, without any connection. Okay, but when I post an entry without any ledger, it is not independent entry, it is a dependent entry. It is dependent on all the ledgers. If you make any correction, all the ledgers will be affected. If you reverse it, all the ledgers will be reversed. This is not the expectation. When we say this is not the expectation, if you do it, there is no point called parallel valuation. You're talking about parallel valuation. Reason, you wanted to evaluate your fixed asset separately according to Indian accounting. You wanted to evaluate your fixed asset according to IFRS separately, meaning two real-time depreciation areas we have created, one for leading, one for non-leading. I cannot create a single entry. I cannot create a single entry which will affect my leading ledger, non-leading ledger together. This is not possible. If you do it, there is no concept, there is no point called parallel valuation. Since the objective is to have the parallel valuation, asset is independent in the leading ledger, asset is independent in non-leading ledger, you need to make sure ledger specific entry is posted in leading separately, in non-leading separately. To do this, what will happen? SAP brought a concept called two views. One is your operating view, another one is valuation view. When you're talking about operating view or operational view, you're representing one side of the accounting. When you're talking about valuation view, you're representing another side of the accounting. Now, this technical clearing account is applicable only for the asset purchase. This technical clearing account is applicable only for the asset procurement or asset purchase. Whenever you are purchasing the asset from a vendor, only then technical clearing account is applicable. On all other transactions, technical clearing account is not applicable. This is applicable only for asset procurement, only for the asset purchase. Normally, how you will purchase the asset? From the vendor, you will purchase the asset. Now, the person who is giving you the asset, the person who is selling the asset, or supplier from whom you are purchasing the asset is called as your operational view. Is called as your operational view, meaning this is a business operation you have performed. You have purchased an asset from XYZ vendor. This XYZ vendor will have to receive money from you because he had supplied asset worth 10,000 for you. For example, you purchased an asset worth 10,000 from ABC Limited. ABC Limited will become your supplier. Now, to this supplier, you will have to pay 10,000 rupees. Supplier has got nothing to do with your ledger. Whether you talk about leading ledger or you talk about non-leading ledger, your liability will become the same. 10,000 liability as per Indian accounting standard, 10,000 liability as per your IFRS accounting standard. If you purchase, your bill is for 10,000 INR or the equivalent to $10,000 whatsoever. I cannot change the bill. I cannot change the bill because asset is the same, vendor is one. I cannot say according to Indian accounting standard to my vendor I pay 10,000. According to IFRS I will pay 10,200 to vendor. Not applicable, not possible anywhere. You need to make sure your vendor will be paid same amount irrespective of the ledger, leading or non-leading. For this, what you will do, you will take your vendor as a operational view. You will take your vendor as an operational view. According to operational view, what system will do? It will credit the vendor. What system will do? System will credit the vendor with the same amount for both leading and non-leading ledger. It will be the same amount for both leading and non-leading ledger. We are all aware, to update both the ledgers, we need to put entry with the ledger or without ledger. To update both the ledgers, do I need to put entry with ledger or without ledger?
Without ledger.
Without ledger. Without ledger.
This is without ledger.
Without.
Basic fundamental point which everybody is aware of. Agree?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
Now your vendor account will be credited without ledger. Whenever you see any asset acquisition, any asset posting, it will create three accounting document. It will create three accounting document, one accounting document without any ledger. One accounting document without any ledger. This accounting document without any ledger is updating vendor liability. Am I correct? Asset purchase
Yes, sir.
document without any ledger is updating my vendor liability in leading and non-leading. Is this point correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Now on the other side, you have to debit your asset. On the other side, you'll have to debit your asset. When you're debiting the asset, now asset is something which is subject to valuation. There is something called asset valuation or fixed asset valuation. According to Indian accounting standard, I have to do my fixed asset valuation separately. According to IFRS, I have to do my fixed asset valuation separately. In order to do asset valuation separately, I cannot have a combined entry, I cannot have a common entry. I need to make sure asset acquisition entry in my leading ledger separate, asset acquisition entry in my non-leading ledger separate. Only then I can perform my parallel valuation with respect to leading ledger separately, with respect to non-leading ledger separately. To do it, you need to pass ledger specific entry. How you are going to pass ledger specific entry? As we know, while processing any manual accounting document, while booking any accounting debit credit, you need to input ledger group. Agree? We need to input ledger group for posting ledger specific entry. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Now, when you're
Yes.
defining your chart of depreciation, when you're defining your chart of depreciation, as per your basic setup, as per your organizational setup of your SAP asset accounting in ECC, and in your S4 HANA system. In ECC, what you will do for every chart of depreciation area. In chart of depreciation, for every depreciation area, you have to connect a ledger. In ECC, you have to connect a ledger directly, meaning against each ledger or against each depreciation area, I can straight away input this area related to leading ledger or non-leading ledger, 0L, NL, I can directly input in my ECC. In ECC, your depreciation area is connected with ledger directly. But in S4 HANA system, it is not the situation. In S4 HANA system, your depreciation area is connected with the ledger, not directly but indirectly. How your ledgers are connected to depreciation area in S4 HANA system? Not directly, indirectly, based on accounting principle. Based on accounting principle, if you notice, if you recollect your asset accounting configuration in S4 HANA system, you will find ledger will be there, accounting principle also will be there, but accounting principle is editable, ledger is grayed out. Am I correct?
Yes.
Ledger is grayed out, accounting principle is editable, meaning when you put your accounting principle, system will automatically bring the ledger. How? There is a configuration to create the accounting principle. There is a configuration to connect or assign accounting principle to ledger. Based on the accounting principle, whatever you are selecting, system will automatically bring the assigned ledger by default. So here your ledgers are coming with the help of accounting principle. Reason, you have parallel valuation here. New asset accounting will treat both depreciation areas as real-time depreciation areas. You need to tell this depreciation area is valuated according to IFRS. IFRS is related to leading ledger 0L, or the other depreciation area is valuated according to Indian accounting standard. For Indian accounting standard, we have created depreciation area 3 or 4, and this is connected to my accounting principle IAS. Now this IAS is represented or is assigned to another ledger group. Now here when you are connecting this, there are 2 points to be considered. Point number 1, fiscal year. What is the fiscal year that you are using for leading ledger, non-leading ledger? If you are using same fiscal year for leading and non-leading ledger, it is a straightforward approach. If you are using same fiscal year for leading ledger, non-leading ledger, it is a straightforward approach. No more additional setup is required. Straight away you can connect leading ledger accounting principle, non-leading ledger accounting principle. You can proceed further. But in case if your leading ledger financial year is different, non-leading ledger financial year is different. In the other words, for leading ledger I am using January to December. For the non-leading ledger I am using April to March. January to December, April to March are not the same. Since these are not same, I cannot use the same financial year here. Now as per new asset accounting in S4 HANA system, it will accept single fiscal year variant. It will accept single fiscal year variant. If your fiscal years are different between the ledger, SAP will not allow you to set up chart of depreciation. To meet this, what we will do, a workaround provided by SAP, you have to create additional ledger called representative ledger. You'll create another ledger called representative ledger. To this representative ledger, you are going to connect leading ledger. You are going to connect leading ledger copy. How you are going to create a leading ledger copy? You are going to look at what parameters are there in leading ledger. This representative ledger will have this exactly the same parameters from leading ledger plus non-leading ledger. Non-leading ledger you already have. This representative ledger is going to have copy of leading ledger plus non-leading ledger, and you are going to represent this representative ledger with leading copy. Whatever the representative ledger that is created, which is having same parameters of leading ledger, will be assigned, meaning your representative ledger is corresponding to the same financial year, to the same fiscal year that is maintained in the 0L leading ledger. Since it is represented by leading copy ledger, your financial year according to SAP Asset Accounting is January to December for both. It is January to December for both, and when you're doing this assignment, it will not create any problem once this is done. Now from your chart of depreciation perspective, based on the depreciation area, based on the accounting principle, system is able to understand what is leading ledger, what is non-leading ledger. Now while posting any asset accounting entry, while posting any asset accounting entry. Now system has got a clarity from your chart of depreciation areas, how many accounting principles are assigned. This accounting principle is connected to which ledger group. This ledger group has got how many ledger. It is going to put a separate entry for the respective ledger group that is there in your chart of depreciation area specification. If you recollect your chart of depreciation configuration screen, on the depreciation areas, you will be able to see two fields there. Point number one, depreciation area. Point number two, depreciation area description. Point number three, you will find ledger group. Point number four, you will find accounting standard or accounting principle. Are these four correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. Now from these four, what system will do? System has identified a ledger group there. System has identified a ledger group to post ledger specific entry. System will only ask ledger group, not ledger. Anybody noticed it? Whenever you post FB50L, FB01L, it is a field which is represented by ledger group, not ledger. Agree?
Yes.
Right? It is ledger group. Now in your asset accounting against chart of depreciation area, it is a ledger group. What system will do? It will debit your asset according to ledger group separate entry. It will debit asset again according to ledger group separately. Meaning one time it is going to debit the asset according to IFRS ledger group. Another time it is going to debit the asset according to Indian Accounting Standard account group. I mean Indian Accounting Standard ledger group. In short, your vendor is credited without any ledger. Vendor is credited without any ledger. Asset is debited with a ledger. Am I correct? When you post your asset acquisition, asset purchase, your normal accounting entry will be asset account debit, vendor account credit. Is this accounting entry correct?
Yes.
No,
Asset
sir.
account
Technical
debit?
fee
No,
only.
nothing.
No, normal
Technical
accounting
fee
entry
only.
I'm talking. I'm talking in a generic way.
Generic,
General
yes.
accounting
Yeah.
entry with respect to
Yes,
Only
sir.
asset
this one.
procurement will be asset account debit and then vendor account credit. Is this accounting entry correct?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Whether it
Yes, sir.
is leading ledger or it is non-leading ledger, whether it is as per your Indian accounting standard or as per your IFRS accounting standard, to the vendor, if your asset is purchased for 10,000, you are liable to pay 10,000 to the vendor, irrespective of the leading ledger, non-leading ledger. Agree? Vendor has got nothing to do with it. Your asset valuation and all, vendor is nowhere connected to it. Vendor has to be updated 10,000 in your leading ledger outstanding, 10,000 in the non-leading ledger outstanding. Is my statement correct or not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right? My vendor account is supposed to be credited with 10,000 on the leading, 10,000 on the non-leading. To do this, I don't need to put any ledger. If I put a ledger, vendor account will be credited only in one particular ledger. Vendor account may not be credited in another ledger because I need to credit vendor liability equally in both the ledgers. Your vendor liability is always treated as which view? Valuation view or operational view?
Operational.
Optional use.
Operational.
Vendor liability is always represented as operational view. This is your business operation that you have performed with the vendor. Operational view will always credit the vendor account. You know that debit and credit only will form the journal entry. Without debit, without credit, no accounting entry is possible. You are talking about operational view, which is crediting a vendor liability alone. Operational view is only related to vendor liability because your asset purchase accounting entry is asset account debit, vendor account credit. At the end of the posting, you need to make sure my asset is debited, my vendor is credited, nothing else is affected. My asset is debited, my vendor is credited, nothing else is affected. Now, with the help of operational view, which account is affected? Asset or vendor?
Vendor.
Vendor, sir.
Right? With the help of operational view, our vendor account is affected. Your vendor account is credited or debited?
Credited.
Your vendor
Credit.
account is credited. To complete the accounting entry, if you have the vendor account on the credit side, what is missing?
Debit.
Debit is missing. Now this missing debit cannot be asset. This missing debit cannot be asset because your vendor is credited without the ledger. Agree?
Yes.
My vendor account is credited without a ledger. Since my vendor is being credited without ledger, I cannot debit asset. If I debit the asset, the concept of my parallel valuation is ruled out. Agree? Am I correct? I am crediting vendor without any ledger, which is representing vendor liability will be updated in all the ledgers. There is nothing called parallel valuation of a vendor. Parallel valuation is applicable only for asset. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? Vendor account has got nothing to do with parallel valuation. That is why my vendor account is credited without any ledger, so that it will be updated in all my ledgers. Liability is created. Since I cannot debit my asset account here, temporarily in place of asset, I am going to use a dummy account or a waiting account or a technical clearing account called asset technical clearing account here. Which account you are going to debit for time being, for temporary purpose?
Asset technical
Asset
clearing account.
asset technical clearing account will be debited here. Now on the other side, what is happening? You have to credit technical clearing account because technical clearing account is now having a debit balance of 10,000. With your asset purchase, technical clearing account is nowhere in the picture. Am I correct? Your accounting entry is asset account debit, vendor account credit. Vendor is already credited, purpose is fulfilled. Now you have debited additionally technical clearing account, which is not relevant as per your accounting entry. Is my statement correct?
Yes.
Technical clearing account is not supposed to be updated, is not supposed to show any value because your transaction is related to asset debit, vendor credit. Vendor is already credited, purpose is fulfilled with respect to liability, but vendor is not offsetting with your fixed asset. Instead of vendor offsetting with fixed asset, vendor is getting offset with technical clearing account, which is a temporary account. Now on the other side, you need to debit asset account. Now, when you're talking about debiting asset account, you have asset valuation. You need to understand how you are valuating your fixed asset. You are valuating your fixed asset according to IFRS, according to Indian accounting standard, or according to US GAAP or any country specific accounting principle. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right? You are debiting or you are valuating your fixed asset as per IFRS. You are also valuating your fixed asset as per Indian accounting or as per any other country specific accounting standard. Now I need to make sure according to IFRS my asset is debited separately. According to Indian accounting standard my asset is debited separately. To make sure that my IFRS is separately debited, my Indian accounting standard is or US GAAP is separately debited, it has to be a ledger specific accounting posting. Yes or no? This has to be
Yes.
ledger specific accounting entry. Now to make sure that this is a ledger specific accounting entry, how system will know which ledger to be debited? From your depreciation areas again. Against the depreciation area, system will find what is the accounting principle assigned. Based on the accounting principle, system will know what is the ledger. Now to that ledger, it will post a separate accounting entry. Now when you define your document type, when you define the number ranges, there is one more setting called document type for ledger, document type, document number range for ledger, other than company code. Anybody remember this? There are two level document type. One is common for all the ledger. I mean common for the leading ledger or common for all the ledgers together. Another one is ledger specific. You have to
Yes.
maintain another setting wherein you have to specify what is your non-leading ledger. In this non-leading ledger, what kind of documents you would like to post. You have to assign the list of document types there. For this non-leading ledger specific posting, how do you want to identify the number? You'll have to put your own number range there. And then you'll have to maintain the number range interval there. Anybody remember this?
Yes.
Ledger specific document type, ledger specific number range. Yes, no?
Yes.
Right? Now from here system will understand, okay, now I am going to debit my leading ledger. Entry will be posted only to ledger 0L. Entry will be posted only to ledger 0L. In this, system is going to debit asset account, and then system is not going to credit liability vendor here. If system is crediting vendor here, your vendor liability is duplicated or not?
Yes.
Because your vendor liability is already taken care from which view?
Operational view.
Operational.
Right? Your vendor account is already taken care from the operational view. Vendor account chapter is closed. Now you're talking about valuation view. From the valuation view, you're only going to focus on the asset. You're debiting the asset. You're debiting the asset according to IFRS. You have to put a debit to the IFRS. IFRS is represented by leading ledger 0L. Agree? So your accounting entry will be updated to a ledger group called 0L. So that it will be updated only in the ledger group 0L. Since system is debiting the asset, which is required as per valuation view, and to complete the accounting entry, credit is also required. To complete the accounting entry, credit is also required. What system will do with the credit? Credit, it cannot take the vendor account. There is a temporary account which was used for the vendor.
Yes.
What was the temporary account which we used for vendor? What is that account called?
Technical clearing account.
Technical clearing account. What system will do to complete this posting? It will use a credit called technical clearing account. Asset account will be debited, technical clearing account will be credited. Similarly, for the non-leading ledger, it will do the same thing. For the non-leading ledger, it will use the Indian Accounting Standard Ledger. It will post the same entry. Asset account debit, same technical clearing account credit. Now this asset account debit, technical clearing account credit is multiple entries based on the number of ledgers that you have. If you have 3 ledger, it will record 3 accounting entries. 1 entry in leading ledger, 2 entries in 2 different non-leading ledger. Now everywhere only debit is taken into account because credit is a dummy account called technical clearing account. Now all these are happening from the single transaction called asset acquisition. All these entries are being posted from a single transaction called asset acquisition with purchase order or without purchase order. Asset acquisition from vendor either with purchase order or without purchase order. So what system is doing? It is crediting vendor from operational view perspective by taking a debit in technical clearing account. From the valuation point of view, system is debiting asset by taking credit into technical clearing account. Now you have technical clearing account within the accounting entry 2 times, one on the debit side, one on the credit side. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, one on the debit side, one on the credit side. Your valuation area is crediting a technical clearing account. Your valuation view is crediting a technical clearing account. Your operational view is debiting a technical clearing account. Agree?
Yes.
If the asset procurement is for 10,000, debit side is 10,000 in the technical clearing account, credit side is 10,000 in the technical clearing account, debit credit will become 0, meaning the technical clearing account within the transaction will always become 0. So there is no impact with this technical clearing account. It is used only for the purpose of debiting your asset accounting or debiting your asset value as per the accounting standard or as per the accounting principle, so that depreciation or whatsoever you can carry on individually, meaning you can, once your asset is capitalized, you can post depreciation separately, you can charge retirement, whatsoever that you do it, you can do separately with respect to each accounting principle. Even when you do the AUC settlements and all, every time when we were working on AUC settlement, you would have noticed the same amount was repeating twice when you are about to do the AUC settlement. Anybody noticed? When you are settling value from AUC asset to main asset, same asset will represent a duplicate, same value. One side it is coming from the leading ledger, on the other side it is coming from the non-leading ledger. Anybody noticed? AIAB, AIBU, when you do it, when you settle the values from AUC to main asset, it will represent values 2 times. One time it will show the value from leading ledger, another time it will show the value from the non-leading ledger. While doing the settlement, you can settle only one ledger to the main asset, another ledger you cannot get settle it, you can settle later on because it is ledger specific posting. In short, your technical clearing account is used for updating leading ledger, non-leading ledger asset specific value, which is external acquisition or only the asset acquisition or asset purchase entry. Other than asset purchase entry, no other place technical clearing account will come into picture. Don't tell that technical clearing account is used everywhere during your asset posting. No, it is used only for the asset acquisition or only for the asset procurement. These all points you'll have to specify, not the definitions. They're more concerned about how you are explaining the accounting entry, from where system is debiting, crediting, why technical clearing account is coming, where you are maintaining this GL account, whether this is a reconciliation account, non-reconciliation account. This technical clearing account, is it a reconciliation account, non-reconciliation account?
Reconciliation.
Take on account, sir.
One account.
Technical clearing account is an asset reconciliation account. Can I create separate technical clearing account for each asset class? Is it possible?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
For example, I am using asset accounting in my company code. I have 5 types of asset: land and building, plant and machinery, furniture and fitting, motor vehicles, computers and software. Whenever I am purchasing land, I want to have land technical clearing account. Whenever I am purchasing motor cars, I would like to have motors technical clearing account. If I am purchasing a furniture, I would like to have furniture technical clearing account. Can we maintain like this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can maintain it. Now, when you're defining the asset technical clearing account, you will create a GL account in FS00 as a reconciliation account. When you assign this technical clearing account in your configuration, this GL account is assigned at what level? Is it at the same level where you assign your AO90 or it is a different place?
It's a different place, so there is a no, there is a
Not in
separate
AO90.
configuration, sir.
Technical clearing account is not assigned in AO90. AO90, all the asset common transaction. Technical clearing account is not asset common transaction. It is asset procurement transaction specifically related to S4 HANA system. There is a separate T code, there is a separate node for it. Define asset technical clearing account. When you define it, you will be able to assign GL account at company code level or at asset class level or at chart of account level.
Asset
Chart
class
of
level.
account, sir.
This is at chart of account level. This is at chart of account level. Whenever you are assigning the GL account called asset technical clearing account at chart of account level, is there any bifurcation or it is ruled out? Can I have any
Bifurcation in the sense,
segregation?
sir?
I mean, can I split my technical clearing account for land separate, building separate, furniture separate?
Yes, sir. We
Yeah,
can.
that is possible, sir. Yeah.
Not possible.
Combination of.
That is not possible because when you are defining the configuration, system will only ask you to tell me what is your chart of account. For this chart of account, what is the asset technical clearing account? That's it. If you are using 25 company codes, 25 company codes will usually use a single chart of account. Am I correct?
Right, sir.
Yes.
You are working for one client. Your client has got 25 legal entities. 25 legal entities are nothing but 25 company code. 25 company codes will be using a single chart of account. If your technical clearing account for asset is assigned at a chart of account level, by default, this GL account is applicable for all the 25 company codes. Am I correct?
The
There is no way
class
you can segregate your
reference
asset technical clearing account, not even at company code
is
level.
based
Forget
on.
about asset class level. Not possible. It is assigned at chart of account level. One time setting applicable for total client. It's a client level setting. When you assign it at chart of account level, all the company codes, whatever is using that chart of account, will pick the GL account automatically. You cannot segregate it. When somebody is asking these kind of questions, please be very careful. You'll have to look at the configuration setting screen at what level you are maintaining the setting. Okay, this is not possible.
Ajay, I have a question. When you said if you can segregate it, what does the question mean? Segregate it in which perspective?
I mean to say, if I am purchasing furniture, I can debit furniture account, right? If
Right.
I'm purchasing machinery, I can debit machinery account. If I'm purchasing computers, I can debit computer account. On the same
Right.
way, if I'm purchasing my furniture, I can credit my accumulated depreciation for furniture I can debit depreciation on furniture, meaning based on each asset class, I can have a separate GL account. Agree?
Yes.
On the same note, can I have a separate technical clearing account for each asset class? That is not possible because this GL account called asset technical clearing account is not assigned against account determination or against asset class. Instead, this is assigned against chart of account straightforward. For
Okay.
all the company codes, by default, the same GL account is automatically picked up.
So there's gonna be only one technical clear account. Whatever asset we are procuring, everything
Yes,
will
for
be
all your company codes, it will be the same account.
used
Not possible to
one.
change because it is assigned against chart of account.
Okay. So when you ask in the first time, that answer will be no. We cannot have the separate technical account for each class.
Right.
Okay.
Question looks simple, but when you think
Yeah.
through it, you will find it, yes, this is not possible. In the interview, similar questions they will put. Question looks very simple, but the answer is a little tricky. You have to elaborate a lot. My question is simple, one-liner, but your answer cannot be one-liner. You're getting my point? I'm not convinced if you tell yes, no, one-liner. If you tell no, it is not possible, I want to know why not possible. If you tell yes, I want to know how you can do it. I'm not going to leave you there for your yes. I want justification. For your no also, I want justification as an interviewer. So you should not leave it yes, no. Whatever you're telling yes, tell why you're telling yes. Try to add few more points there. If your points are reasonable, convincing enough, I'm okay with it. I'm not expecting you to explain me the exact situation, what is happening, but at least I feel that yes, you got my question. You're getting my point, right? I should feel that yes, you understood my question. How I feel that yes, you understood my question based on what you're answering? Yes or no?
Yes, Ajay.
If you got my question, your answer is different. The way you talk is completely different. If you do not get my question, you will try to talk something which is irrelevant to my question. That is relevant from your point of view, but from my point of view, that is not what I am expecting from you. Meaning, I am expecting you to talk something related to this is assigned at chart of account level for all the company codes. You can maintain a single GL account. If I hear these points from you, I'm okay. I don't need any further explanation. If these points I'm able to find from your explanation, if you're able to strike these points while talking, I'm fine with you.
Yeah, Ajay,
How you
there is
will,
another setting called different technical clearing account that is asking by combination of chart of accounts and account determination.
correct,
Based on that, we can give a different technical clearing account for each
correct.
asset class.
But that normally we don't use it. So we'll have to talk
Okay.
the points that we will be using as a standard practice. If you tell that
Okay.
point, they immediately will get a cross question. What was the business requirement to have a separate this one? Why you did not convince your client to have a single chart technical clearing account? Because at the end of the day, at the end of the transaction, this is going to become zero. Agree? There is no
Yeah.
balance that is going to be left over in it. There is no point to do any reconciliation for it. The reconciliation is the
Yes.
transaction itself. Within the entry, it is
Yes.
supposed to become zero. Agree?
Yes.
Right? When we add additional points, our additional point will put us in a tricky situation wherein the other person is to start asking different cross questions from your point itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is one point with respect to asset accounting. I think you're running out of time. So let me talk this point alone and then we will continue this in the next session. This point, the next point is related to is the implementation process. In the implementation process, what are the teams that you are working with, end to end or middle of the project? So as I mentioned, whenever you get these kind of questions related to implementation, point number one, you'll have to remember what is your implementation project. Is it your SAP ECC implementation project or SAP S4 HANA implementation project? Anybody who is representing below 5 years of experience or 3 to 5 years of experience, please make sure your implementation cannot be ECC. Your implementation is not supposed to be ECC. It is strictly S4 HANA implementation. Point number one to be kept in your mind. According to implementation, there are two methodologies. Point number one, ASAP methodology. Point number two is what is this point number two for S4 HANA system? Which methodology?
Activate methodology.
Activate methodology. Now, according to ASAP methodology, there are 5 stages. According to Activate methodology, there are 6 stages. Right? If you look at it, for example, as per ASAP or as per Activate. Okay, as per ASAP, first one is what?
Project preparation.
Second one?
Project preparation. Business blueprint.
Business
Third
blueprint.
one?
Realization.
Fourth one?
Realization.
Deploy.
As per
Final
ASAP.
preparation. Final preparation.
No.
Deploy.
Okay.
Final.
Last one?
Go live.
Final preparation. Last go live.
Go live
Go
on
live.
post.
Okay. This is as per your ASAP methodology. As per Activate.
Prepare.
DPRDR.
Prepare. Explore.
First one is
Prepare.
okay.
Explore.
Okay.
Realize. Deploy.
Run. Okay. Now here you have to understand what is this representing. P is representing what?
Project preparation.
Project preparation. B is representing
Business blueprint.
business blueprint. R is representing what?
Realization.
Realization. F is representing what?
Final preparation.
Final preparation.
Final preparation. G is representing
Go live.
Go live and support active.
go live and support. This is basically from your ASAP methodology. Agree? This is from your ASAP methodology. Is this correct?
Yes.
Similarly, when you talk about Activate methodology, D is representing what?
Prepare.
D.
Discover.
Deploy.
Deploy.
Discover.
Discover.
Next one.
Prepare.
D is representing discover. Sorry.
Be prepared. Prepare.
P is representing
Prepare.
prepare. E is
Explore.
representing
Explore.
explore. R is representing
Realize.
realize.
Deploy. Run.
Deploy.
Run.
This is run. Only the terminology is different. The concept is exactly the same. Whatever you have there, whatever you have here, it is one and the same. It is just that the term is different. But the fundamental concept logic, whether you work on ECC or you work on S4 HANA system, will remain the same. Usually, where you are going to do the configuration. In ASAP, where do you maintain the configuration?
Realize.
This is where configuration is maintained. And here also, do you find something called realization?
Yes.
Here also, you maintain the config at realization phase only.
Yes.
Right? Now, final preparation is where you are going to maintain all the things you are going to verify. You are going to move the things to the production system and all.
Yes.
Cutover and all you are going to make sure in the final preparation.
Yes.
Agree?
Yes, sir.
Now, same thing you have deployment here, meaning you are deploying whatever you have done in the production system. When you're talking about go live, you are handing over system to the client so that they will start using the SAP. Agree? Well, that means your
Yes.
client is starting to use SAP system on a day-to-day basis for daily transaction. They will be using it from go live and support. And this is represented as run here. Run means you're running the SAP system. That's it. Now here, when it comes to this, you have something called project preparation, business blueprint. You have something called project preparation, business blueprint. Now, even when somebody is asking you from which phase you were part of the project, usually we all will represent we were part from the realization phase. Agree?
Yes.
Majoritarily, we are all going to say that yes, I was part of the project from realization phase. In case if you're talking about ASAP methodology related to SAP ECC implementation project. You're all aware we are going to represent our implementation project between 2020 or 2019 from now, in between any space. Now, during this stage, whatever the implementation project that you are quoting, that you are representing, is most likely supposed to be SAP S/4HANA implementation. In this phase, if you are working on any implementation that is related to ECC, remember that is not called as implementation, that is called as a rollout. Agree? Clear?
Yes.
In between 2019 or 2020 till date, anything that you are talking about, I created a new company called an ECC system. Do not mention that as an implementation. Instead, represent that as a rollout project. Okay, that is supposed to be a rollout project. Even for the rollout, you will be using the same methodology, ASAP activate, but know the difference. Now, in the business blueprint, what you are going to do?
We'll prepare the documentation, like
Okay,
KDs.
these two you keep aside for time being. These two things and here these three things you keep it aside. These two are exactly the same of these three. How these are connected I'll explain later on, but for now you have to focus from these 3 points. These three are very important because you are going to represent or you are going to tell to anybody whoever is asking at whatever the stage. You are going to tell I was part from the project from realization phase or from the realize phase. This is what everybody will be representing in the interview. Even you will also be telling the same point. Meaning from realization phase, you have to understand. Tell anybody that you joined the project from the realization phase. Even if somebody is asking in the interview, upfront you tell without any hesitation, without any confusion, be confident. Tell that I was part of this project or I joined the project when the project was at the realization phase. Clear? Tell that you joined the project at the realization phase. You getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, meaning by the time you join the project, when you're at the realization phase, business blueprint is already finalized. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Business blueprint is already finalized. You're telling to your interviewer that you were part of the project from the realization phase, meaning BBP is already finalized, and then you are about to start the config. At that stage, you have been added to the project, or at that stage, you have joined the project. From there, you need to understand the point. Now, from here and here, it is the same. The terminology is different. After a realization, you will do unit testing, you will do UAT, you will create roles and authorization, you will conduct user training session, you will move all the TRs to the production system, you will upload the opening balances, cut over data and all. Then you will hand over the system to the client. You will perform the post go live support, which is nothing but hypercare support. Same thing is going to happen even here, but in terms of realize, deploy, run. But here, realization, final preparation, go live and support. In activate methodology, it is realize, deploy, run. Whatever 3 points which are highlighted in ASAP, 3 points which are highlighted in activate, you have to remember. Tomorrow when somebody is asking which methodology was used in your implementation project, be very specific. If your project is ECC, ASAP methodology. If your project is S/4HANA system, activate methodology. And they just wanted to hear these points from you. That's it. They're only concerned about whether you are talking about these 6 stages or not. Sometimes people will tell only 5, but don't tell only 5. You have to tell 6. Okay, if possible, remember the first digit DPERDR because this is something everybody knows. project preparation, business blueprint, realization, final preparation, go live and support, everybody is aware of it. You don't specifically need to remember this separately because it is most likely everybody is aware of it. But when it comes to this, do not have any confusion. Remember with any logic. If possible, try to remember this. This is more easier. DPERDR, bring this in your mind and put abbreviation against everything. D means discover, and then P means prepare, E means explore, R means realization, D means deploy, R means run. At what stage, what you are going to do it, you need to understand at very high level because this is something which is taken care by your project manager. At every stage, you'll have to prepare certain documentation. Meaning at the discover stage, what is going to happen? At the preparation stage, what is going to happen? At explore stage, what is going to happen? During realization stage, what is going to happen? Somebody might ask you what documentation you prepared at realization stage. Somebody might ask at realization phase or during the realization, what documentation you prepared. During deployment stage, what did you do? What activities you performed in the deployment stage? Somebody might put question as it is. What were you doing or what was your contribution in your project during the deployment stage? Don't be silent for it. You need to know what is deployment, what is going to happen. You know what is final preparation, right? You are going to move all the TRs, right? You are going to perform cutover activities. Agree? Same thing is going to
Yes.
happen here, but you need to make sure you are confident enough to answer. But before we go to that level, you need to remember these points first. From which stage you are part of the project, in a confident way you need to talk. Don't think and answer. On the spot, spontaneously you need to respond. From there, whatever you are working on it, continue in a flow. I was part of the project from the realization phase or from the realizer phase. From there, this is what I was assigned. I was working on the configuration. I prepared configuration document, unit testing, test script, user manuals I prepared, or I was preparing the role metrics. I was testing the user role. All these kind of things we can mention. I was coordinating with the technical team on the rise up object, gap list. All these kind of things you can mention. But when you are mentioning points in a sequential order with confidence, other person will have a positive opinion. Okay. So till here we've discussed, and the remaining points we will continue in the tomorrow's session. Let me park it here. Till here, whatever we discussed are clear, right? You have an idea at least.
Yes.
Yes.
So what is the accrual engine for the implementation?
What is what?
The accrual engine. The next question, the seventh one.
This is nothing but you have something called accrual deferral, right?
No, that is not accrual deferral. So it is asked about the implementation only.
Same thing.
On
The
what
accrual deferral
on
is
what
nothing but
basis you
accrual
have done the
engine. You can
baseline
automate it.
configurations is
With the help of accrual engine, you can automate the posting. For example, every month I need to accrue some expenses. And then next month I need to do it, reverse it. If I know what is the fixed entry that I'm going to pass it along with the same amount, I can maintain the accrual engine. What this accrual engine will do, it will run a program. This is new functionality added in S4 HANA system. With this, when you run this accrual engine, system will automatically calculate your accruals. It will book the accrual entry. It will reverse the entry next month first day. The way you run the foreign currency valuation, what it will do, unrealized gain loss booked on the last day of the month, reversed automatically on the next day of the month.
actually he is
Yes.
asking about the baseline configuration. So actually I said I was a part of realization phase. Then he asked about on what basis you have configured the system. Is it accrual engine or something else he has asked?
What? Repeat your question again.
Actually, I said actually I have been part of realization phase.
Hmm.
There actually I have done the baseline configuration based on the BPP and the KDS document I said. So then he actually he put a cross question on what basis is it accrual engine basis or on what basis you did baseline configurations is it he was asking.
No, yeah. In that case, that question is not related to accrual engine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
In that case, the question is not accrual engine. This is a straightforward functionality. It's a direct
Okay.
functionality. Then you might be expecting whether you were part of any business process discussions, or you were part of the project once BBP is finalized? On what basis you did the baseline configuration? He is expecting the business blueprint, KDSA documentation, mean client confirmed KDSA documentation.
Okay.
Okay, that is not related to accrual engine. Question is not related to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ajay,
Okay.
actually, in my end user experience, actually in ECC in JSW company, actually they implemented one separate screen for this accrual inputs. Means one screen
Correct.
they have given where the end user will update all the entries with along with the vendor codes that will goes for next workflows. Once the manager approved, then automatically the entries get generated with a different document type.
Correct. There's a backend configuration for it, wherein you have to specify in what date your accrual will have to be posted and on what date you want it to be reversed or you don't want it to be reversed.
Yeah,
Whenever you
that
post any
see,
accrual, you want your entry to be reversed basically, because you're accruing it because it is not actually happened,
yeah, C
to show
minus
the
one date given closing
correct.
day
So
minus
whenever
one.
you post any accrual entry, you are making sure that your current month financial, your current month P&L will represent current your actual amount, because we all follow accrual concept of accounting, right?
Yes, sir.
You will be using accrual concept or accrual basis accounting, meaning if the transaction occurred in this month, you have to record it in this month only. You cannot say that I purchased this month or I received some benefit this month, but this is related to next month. I cannot say that this month I don't book it, next month I will book this. You have to record it in the current month in which the transaction took place. If it is related to last month or if it is related to next month, please adjust according to accrual deferral concept. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Right, you'll have to make sure you're not using cash basis accounting, you are using accrual basis accounting. Meaning the moment the transaction is taking place, it has to be recorded. If it is not related to current month, it has to be either accrued or deferred. Accruals are basically related to what? Expenses or income.
Accruals are expenses.
Accruals are related to expenses. Deferrals are related to what?
Income, sir.
Revenue income.
Ajay,
Deferrals are related to income, meaning income not related to current month, but you're receiving it or you're updating it in current month is something called a deferred income. Expense which is not related to current month, but you're booking in the current month, it is related to accrual. If current month
So that's
transaction recorded in current month, it is no longer called as accrual deferral. You are booking an expense, you are booking an income, which is not actually happened in this month, or it is not
Yes.
settled in this month, but you have to book it to show the accurate P&L figure. Then you have to either accrue it or defer it, depending on the nature, expense or income, right?
Yeah.
Which expenses, which incomes they have to accrue it, defer it on what basis? Is it at a fixed amount or what? Your client will tell you, user will tell you along with the GL account. Usually these accrual deferrals will not be configured as part of your implementation. Post go live only you will do it, because your user is not aware how accrual engine works, what is accrual mechanism in SAP. They are not in a position to understand to give you the exact requirement, because here you need to configure along with the GL
Ajay,
account. User is able to
Ajay, we
understand.
have developed. Ajay,
Sorry.
in our
Yeah.
project we have developed like this is Gandhi, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
In our
Yes,
project
Gandhi.
we have developed like for accrual and difference, some recurring uploads has been created, like upload program has been created.
Hmm.
So can we consider that as an accrual engine? Like they will pull the uh, company's invoice of vendor and they will upload in that file.
Yes, whatever the purchases that you have made, and then the purchase is made,
Yeah.
invoice is not booked or invoice is not received,
So can we
or goods
consider
are
that is an
received.
accrual engine?
No, no. In SAP, accrual engine is standard functionality in S4 HANA. No customization required.
No, we are working on ECC.
In ECC, this functionality is not there. In S4 HANA only, this accrual engine is there. Basically, your purchase order accruals and all. Usually what will happen, you
Okay.
will create a purchase order, but your goods are received, but invoice is not received, or partially received, partially not received. These things based on the accrual engine, you can automate it. System will automatically calculate what are all the open purchase orders and all. Accordingly, the accrual entries are automatically booked and they will be reversed. It's a different concept altogether in S/4HANA system, accrual engine. Okay,
Okay. Okay,
accrual
sir.
entry in ECC is a different concept, but accrual engine in S/4HANA system is a different concept.
Okay.
Okay,
Hello,
all
sir.
right.
Sir, just a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Saurav.
Yes, sir. Sir, if I am joined in realize phase, then we call it as a end-to-end implementation project or a middle of the project, sir.
No, 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 no. End-to-end implementation only. That name is for the project, not for your contribution. That is an end-to-end implementation project. You are part of the project from the realization phase. You should never tell I'm in the middle of the project. You have to tell this is the end-to-end implementation project. But I joined the project or I contributed in that project from the realization phase onward.
Okay, sir. Sir, a realization initial phase, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Fine then.